Welcome to the game view. This is week 6 against the San Diego Chargers. At this point of the game, it's already 7-3 Packers. It's 3 minutes left to go in the first quarter. This is the Packers' first play of their second possession, which would start at their own 15-yard line after a penalty on the kickoff, of course. The Packers here are going to run a play that a lot of offenses run. Jeff Janis had just been set in motion. He's now lined up in sort of a tight end position here. He is simply going to flare out to the flat. Rodgers is going to fake the handoff to Starks and roll this way. This is going to be a rollout pass to Janis in the flat. At least that is what the design is. However, we're going to see here that Rodgers does not throw Janis the ball, even though Janis is quite open on this play. This reason why I'm showing this play is to kind of go after the myth that the Packer receivers were not getting open in this game. That is actually not true. The Packer receivers and Richard Rodgers all got open quite a bit in this game. And that wasn't the reason why the offense kind of went into a lull period in the second and third quarters of this game. We'll go ahead and roll this forward. And as you're going to see here, kind of the key part of the play is that this defensive back, who normally you think would be covering Janis, he is not going to cover Janis. He's actually going to go into the backfield and blitz Rodgers. And it ends up being a big reason why this play doesn't work. However, that does leave Janis wide open when he goes out into the flat. The Chargers are playing a straight cover 2 here. They're just sitting in zone, and you will see that as we roll it forward. There's the play fake. Here comes Rodgers out. And now we can see that the Chargers are in their cover 2. That means that Brandon Flowers is backing up, but he's looking at Rodgers. Jeff Janis has released into the flat, and as you can see, he is wide open. This play has worked as it is designed to work. And there's really no great reason I can see right here why Rodgers does not throw at Janis the ball. Now, one of the reasons why Rodgers may not have thrown here, besides the fact he does have the defensive back who's rushing him and Rodgers may have felt he might have had a hard time getting it over him, but also is Rodgers his primary read here is most likely Brandon Flowers, and he can see right now that Brandon Flowers is not playing man-to-man on Ty Montgomery. He is sitting in a 2-deep zone, and he is going to come up quickly and cover Janis, and so that may be the main reason why Rodgers decides not to throw Janis the ball, even though he could have. This certainly would have gotten at least a couple yards if he would have. Rodgers is perhaps hoping to get Montgomery downfield, since this is a 2-deep that is going to leave Montgomery open. As you can see, when Montgomery makes the stop, he is now wide open. Problem is Rodgers now has a defensive back hot on his tail, and he's never going to be able to get this pass off, and he's lucky that he's just ends up throwing this away. This is something that I've talked about in the past with Rodgers, something that does come back to bite him from time to time, is a lot of times he won't take that short pass. If he thinks that he can get something farther downfield, he will look for the deeper pass instead of just taking what the defense gives him. This is one here, where it did bite him. He should have just thrown a quick pass to Janis and took the yards there instead of hoping for something bigger. As we know, going into this game, a lot of the talk was about the Packers not completing passes downfield and not getting bigger plays. And you can see in this game there are several times where the Packers clearly wanted, and Aaron Rodgers wanted to go farther downfield, and it just didn't work for them. I have moved ahead to James Starks' long touchdown run that ends this drive, puts the Packers up 14-3 at this point in the game. What do you know? It's another first quarter at Lambeau Field. It's another double-digit lead for the Packers. Quick start for the Packers, which really has been their calling card during this successful run at Lambeau Field, has been getting off to quick starts. Now, as I said in my prediction, the Chargers don't mind being behind. Phillip Rivers is someone who's very comfortable being behind in games. That just means he's going to throw the ball more, which he has no problem with. And it certainly did not affect the Chargers at all that they were behind in this game. So that's a little bit of difference in an opponent this week versus other weeks with the Packers, is that this time they had an opponent that the Packers getting off to a fast start against them was not going to bother them. And what that is, again, what happened. The Packers got off to another fast start. You probably have seen this play a number of times. The Chargers are in a 2-deep zone. Again, I got 2-deep safety, which they played a lot of this game. Basically, what's going to happen here is they're going to end up over-pursuing down the line. Kind of what the key of the play is that Ingram here, their outside linebacker, you would think that he would have contain on this play, and he decides to go underneath the line here instead of going down the line and over the top. If he takes this over the top, this play is going to go nowhere. Instead, he ends up going down the line, and we can see he ends up overrunning the play and getting lost. Kind of what happens is he is going to end up, as this safety Merriweather comes up, he is going to end up getting in his way. And then when Stark changes directions, it's going to give him a wide open side of the field here with no safety and no edge to worry about. And also Stark's showing his speed off, showing once he gets that long stride going. Guy can actually motor pretty well for a big guy. Great block by Jeff Janis downfield. Help extend that to a touchdown instead of it being down probably around the 10-yard line. So we'll see it here from this angle. This is also a good angle to see it from. Again, you're going to see Ingram decide to come this way instead over the top of Richard Rodgers. That essentially made it so Rodgers didn't even really need to block him. And Starks is off to the races. And that is a 65-yard touchdown run. It is 17-3 Packers. They're kind of dominating at this point of the game, and they would get a chance here to extend their lead when Melvin Gordon would fumble on his play. The reason why I'm showing you this play is this play kind of encapsulates everything that Clinton Dix brings to this defense. This is a different defense with him out there. It's so wonderful to have a safety who is a hard hitter and aggressively attacks the ball. And I'm specifically showing it from this viewpoint because this is the best viewpoint of showing Clinton Dix just attacking the line of scrimmage. The Packers are actually sitting in a 2 deep here, and they have both their safeties back. And this is down here. So I'm going to roll this forward. Here comes the handoff to Melvin Gordon. But Gordon, watch out, because here comes Clinton Dix right at you. Hits right on the ball, causes the fumble, Packer ball. Okay, after Gordon's fumble, a big turning point of the game here. The Packers go 3 and out and they get nothing. And when they had a chance, great field position and a chance to extend their lead. The big reason why the Packers didn't get anything off this is a failed series, is actually because of some poor decisions, poor play by Aaron Rodgers. This is, the Packers have the ball here at the 31-yard line. It's 3rd down and 7, which is certainly a 3rd down that you can convert. The Chargers are not doing anything fancy here. They're going to blitz 5, but that's fairly normal for 3rd down. They blitz a lot of 5-man rushes on 3rd down, same as the Rams did last week. The Chargers are sitting in a 2-deep look here, even though Eric Weddle, this safety, is actually man-to-man on James Starks and is going to cheat that way. The Packer receivers are initially covered here. I will give Rodgers that. That is true. The Packers receivers are initially covered on this play. However, the absolute last thing Rodgers can do here is take a sack. He's a veteran quarterback. He knows better. Packers have the ball to 31. That would make it about a 48 or 49-yard field goal for Mason Crosby. At home, decent conditions. High probability Crosby is going to make that field goal. That would make it 20-3. 20-3, a 17-point lead. That's a 3-score game. That is something that's important. You need to at least stay in field goal range. You cannot take a sack on this play. Aaron Rodgers does that, and this is just not a good play for him. A big mistake here by Rodgers. You see the blitz. As you can see, yes, Packer receivers are initially covered. Rodgers does have a shot down here. He's got Jeff Janis one-on-one with the defensive back, but this is the Chargers' best corner, so I'll give him that. What is going to open up here is Richard Rodgers actually just on a little turnout against the linebacker here. That is actually going to be open, as you can see right here. Rodgers is getting open. The defensive line did a good job of pushing themselves back into Rodgers, but Rodgers, all he had to do is either just take a step back or a step to his left here, and then he could have easily delivered a pass to Richard Rodgers, who's open, is probably going to get this 1st down, or Rodgers could have looked to do something else. Instead, Rodgers is going to, after the line is pushed back in his face, instead of kind of holding steady, taking a step back or stepping left, he's actually going to immediately start looking to scramble, and then he just ends up getting himself in trouble, and a defensive end from all the way the other side of the formation is going to come across and get a sack. And that takes the Packers out of field goal range, and now you have to punt. I have moved ahead to the final play of the first half. The Chargers have managed to get down to inside the 1-yard line. They have chosen to go for it here and go for a touchdown, even though this is going to be the final play of the half. The clock is running out. It's down under 10 seconds at this point. The Packers are going to rush 6 guys and play man-to-man coverage behind it, which is completely different than what they decided to play when they were in a similar situation at the end of the game. What Rivers has got going here is Gates is going to release out in the flat and actually be open. Demarius Randall got a little bit too deep of a drop on his outside coverage here and allowed Gates to be open underneath. If Rivers just dumps it to Gates out in the flat, this is going to be an easy walk-in touchdown. But for whatever reason, Rivers has decided, probably pre-snap, that he is going to be looking for Inman on the cross. This play is difficult to stop unless somebody actually gets it Inman's way, which is entirely possible. The big thing here I'd like to point out is that this is the final play of the half. If the Packers are called for a penalty, then the half is going to be extended by 1 play and the Chargers are going to get a do-over, essentially. But it doesn't hurt you in any other way. So really, this is a prime opportunity for the Packers to be aggressive, be physical at the line. Penalty really doesn't hurt you. It just gives the Chargers a do-over. So, why not? You don't want to give up a touchdown. But the Packers, as they did again and again in this game, is they allowed all of the Charger receivers to get a free release. And once they do that and they don't get in Inman's way at all here, this ends up being a fairly easy touchdown with a decent pass by Rivers. I'll go ahead and move this forward a little bit as we see that. First thing I want to point out is, like I said, Gates is releasing out to the flat. Randall has gotten too deep here, and so this is an easy touchdown for the Chargers if Rivers just throws it out here, but he is already looking for Inman on the cross. Joe Thomas has the middle zone coverage. If Joe Thomas had simply just taken one more step back, he doesn't even need to throw a shoulder into Inman or anything like that. Just take a step back and let Inman run into you. This play is going to be blown up, and likely Clay Matthews is probably going to end up getting a sack to end the half. Instead, Thomas allows Inman to run clean right behind him, right off his back. Micah Hyde is going to try to cut underneath this here, which is about the only thing that he can do. That forces Rivers to throw it up over the top, but he has no problem doing that. And that is a touchdown to make it 17-10 at half. Okay, it's 17-10 second half. This is the first possession for the Packers. They started with great field positions, but they would end up going 3 and out. This is the third down play. This followed a second down play where it looked like Rodgers had Richard Rodgers and Randall Cobb open, but he did not deliver them the ball. Instead, he ended up throwing the ball away. Here, we're going to see here on this play that it's a similar result for the Packers. They actually bring Jeff Janis in motion. Jeff Janis is going to end up slanting underneath the 2 receivers out here. He appears to be the primary receiver on this play, even though, of course, Aaron has got the choice of who he wants to throw to. The Chargers are doing pretty much the same thing they did on most third downs. They're going to rush 5. They got their safeties back, but this safety, again, Weddle, is kind of coming up to cheat on Eddie Lacy. And so that essentially puts them in a single deep look. And here, as we run this play forward a little bit, Chargers are blitzing 5, but not really an issue. Packers do a pretty good job. Here comes Janis across. And Jeff Janis, as the design of the play goes, Jeff Janis is open. This looks like this play is going to work. Looks like it should be a pretty easy first down here for the Packers. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers has decided beforehand that Richard Rodgers is the guy that he wants to look for, and Richard Rodgers is actually held, interfered with, never gets open on this play. Defender is all over him. Again, you see now Rodgers may be coming off of Richard Rodgers. He's looking towards Cobb. Cobb kind of is bracketed here. But again, Jeff Janis still wide open, middle of the field. Jeff Janis still open. Fortunately, if Rodgers would have just stayed out in his pocket, he would have still been fine at this point. Instead, he kind of started shuffling. And since he was looking this way, he started kind of floating this way, and that ends up being a cheap sack here when Aaron Rodgers basically exposed himself to that sack, where if he would have stayed back in the pocket, he could still be back there. All right, this is the touchdown for the Chargers to tie the game at 17. I'm staying here just in the normal broadcast view because this is a great look at the play. The Packers are in a 2-deep zone. The Chargers have gone to 5 wide by putting Danny Woodhead out wide up top. And the Packers are determined, obviously, to stay in their two deep and keep both their safeties back. And so they've moved Clay Matthews up in the slot to cover Ladarius Green. Now, there's two things to notice on this play. One is that Matthews, just like the Packer defense did throughout this whole game, he does not get any sort of bump or push on Ladarius Green at the line of scrimmage that allows Green to release free. Green is one of the fastest tight ends in the league, and so it's awfully difficult to cover him, especially with a linebacker, even a good linebacker like Clay Matthews. Going to have an awfully hard time covering a guy when you allow him a free release and allow him to just run upfield. Rivers throws a good pass here to make this touchdown. Another thing to point out is that the Packers are actually double covering. It appears that they're double using HaHa Clinton-Dix to double cover Antonio Gates here. Not sure why you feel that you need to cover double Gates when you already have Casey Hayward, one of your best corners, covering him. And unfortunately for the Packers, Gates would be about the only Charger in this play who is completely covered. So that therefore the Packers actually wasted HaHa Clinton-Dix by having him double on Gates. Meanwhile, Keenan Allen got a clean release off against Sam Shields, and he is going up the sideline. And Ladarius Green, as we've already said, he's getting a clean release to go in this direction. So with Micah Hyde now being more concerned with being the deep middle of the field instead of cheating to this side, Rivers he can go either way. He can go to this sideline to Keenan Allen or to this side to Green. He's going to have a touchdown either way. Obviously, he goes to Green. That's a near perfect pass, and that is a touchdown Chargers. Okay, last play of the game for the Chargers. This is their last shot, chance to tie the game here. The Packers are going to do something different on defense. They actually surprised me with this. They're only going to rush 4. They're not going to blitz like they've done for most of the game. They're going to sit back in zone, which is their preferred coverage when they get near the end zone. It is going to be successful on this play, mostly because of two things. One is the rush of Julius Peppers. Even though the Packers struggled to get pressure with 4 guys in this game, Peppers basically gives the Packers exactly what they wanted when they paid this guy money and they signed this guy in the first place. And that is that at his age, we don't necessarily expect him to make a play every single play. It's just at the end of the game, when you need one big play on defense, he's a guy that can deliver a big play for you. Here, he beats the right tackle. He gets in Rivers' face and forces Rivers to throw a rush pass here. Rivers still manages to throw a very accurate pass, even under the circumstances. But still, could have been a totally different result if Rivers would have been allowed time to look the field and kind of dance around back there. Certainly could have ended up being a different result. The second thing is Clay Matthews is going to be all over. Antonio Gates is essentially going to hold him down here. The refs, being that this is 4th down, being that it's within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, refs are going to be pretty liberal as far as allowing the defense to be physical here. That's why I'm not sure why the Packers don't take advantage of that more often. So Clay Matthews basically just stones Antonio Gates, gives Rivers no option there. Rivers has to throw it out there, and Demarius Randall does a good job of reacting to the pass and knocking the ball down to seal the win for the Packers. Now here, as we move it forward, we can see Clay Matthews is all over Gates. You see Randall. Everybody is watching Phillip Rivers. That shows you that it's a zone coverage, even though the Packers are kind of playing a matchup zone with everybody sticking on his guy. Good thing Rivers wasn't looking down below, as actually Inman is wide open on Sam Shields. In Shields' defense, he is also looking at Rivers, so it's possible the fact that Rivers is looking to the opposite side of the field has something to do with why Shields is giving so much room here. But Rivers is going to fire it out there, and Demarius Randall has good reaction, knocks that down, seals this game for the Packers. That's another big win for the Packers. That allows them to go into the bye at 6-0. That was very important since it's going to be a tougher road, tougher schedule after the bye. I will see you in a couple weeks after the Packers face the Denver Broncos.